In George Orwell's dystopian classic 1984, main character Winston Smith's job is to edit the past. He goes through newspapers, articles, anything that documented the history of the party, and removes and changes or adds to it to go along with whatever the party's current values and opinions are. And in the novel, those opinions and values change. Quite often, the government swings from one ally to another. A lot changes all the time, and it was Winston Smith's job to edit history so that it always seemed like the government was allied with the people that they are currently allied with, and that they always had these thoughts and opinions. And that's just a brief kind of way of explaining it. Similarly, in the 2017 game We Happy Few, Arthur Hastings' job is to edit the history of the country to remove anything that may be negative or make the population sad, because they take this drug called joy that makes them forget what they did during the war, and so that they can remain happy. And as it states in the first part of the game, happy is the country that has no past. Now, these are extreme examples. Like, I'm not going to be one of those people who's going to start declaring that 1984 is now. I used to be one of those people, but I'm not anymore. We're not quite there yet. We don't have cameras in our rooms for Big Brother to watch us just yet. I do believe, though, that we're on a slippery slope. Roald Dahl's publishers recently made a statement saying that they are releasing all of his books, or a few of his books, with edits made to them. Apparently they have claimed that they have been working on this since 2020 and have been examining his works for a very long time to decide what should stay, what should change, and what should be removed, because language that he uses in his stories can be considered offensive or potentially racist, etc., etc. So the next publication shipment of Roald Dahl books will be edited. So what sort of edits is it that they have made? Well, just an example is that Augustus Gloop in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory will no longer be called fat, he will be called enormous, which isn't much of a change, really, to me. In fact, enormous sounds worse, in my opinion. This is par for the course kind of thing. This is the kind of thing that I expected. I mean, I'm surprised nothing was said about the Oompa Loompas. As far as I know, nothing about the Oompa Loompas has changed. Mrs. Twit from the book The Twits is no longer going to be ugly and beastly. She's just going to be beastly. As if that's any better. Like, isn't saying that someone's beastly just the same as saying they're ugly anyway? I don't I don't understand. In the same book, a weird African language is no longer weird. It's just going to be an African language, as if that makes a difference. Okay. The words crazy and mad have also been removed as a result of an emphasis on mental health. So I assume that means on any of his books. A threat to knock Matilda flat has been changed to give her a right talking to. And references to colours have also been changed. The BFG's coat is no longer black, while Mary in the BFG now goes still as a statue instead of white as a sheet. Now, all of these words could be considered offensive to a certain person. Anything can be viewed as offensive to a certain person. Everyone has their own triggers, and everyone has their own personal experiences that makes particular words, experiences, events offensive or triggering, as they say. If we try to cater to every single person and every single thing that is offensive or could be offending to every single person, then every single book in existence is going to end up needing edited and changed. And the worst of it is, to me, Roald Dahl isn't alive anymore. He died in the 90s, and he is not here anymore to approve of these changes. I don't think that it's fair to edit someone's work when they are passed away. I have the same viewpoint with people trying to continue authors' writings whenever they've passed away. I don't like And Another Thing in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series by Owen Colfer. I feel like that's unneeded. I just don't like it when an author has passed away and their work is beloved and people think, I'm going to add to this or I'm going to change this. But you may cry. These words are offensive. These words are clearly outdated, and these words need to be changed to fit with the current climate. All books are going to end up being outdated at some point. Roald Dahl's books are not the only books in existence that have the word fat in it to describe a child, and I'm talking about kids' books here. I never was into Roald Dahl's books as a kid. The illustrations very much gave me that these books are for boys vibe, because I was very much a girly girl. I read Jacqueline Wilson novels, which, if we're going to talk about like dark and offensive books for kids, why isn't Jacqueline Wilson's books like being brought into this discussion? Like, those covers are deceptively pretty and cover dark stories within, alright? And I've seen the argument for Jacqueline Wilson's book saying that they introduce kids to difficult topics at a young age, which they do. So why is these dark topics in Jacqueline Wilson's novels alright, but calling a evil character in a book about a chocolate factory fat and change it to enormous, what difference is that really going to make anyway? Not a lot, in my opinion. Which could justify the changes happening, but if it's not going to change a lot, why are we doing it when the author is passed away and clearly made it clear that he didn't want people interfering with his writing? He said he'd set a crocodile on anyone who edited his writing. Like I say, all books are going to end up outdated. All books are going to end up having language that has changed and become offensive or has become not offensive anymore. And we can't spend our lives editing them and changing them because it changes history in a way. Not to the extreme of 1984 and not to the extreme of We Happy Few, but like I said, it's a slippery slope. If we start changing books because there are words in it that we don't like, then what stops other people doing the same with books that they don't like? And it goes on, and it goes on. What if the books that are listed in banned books lists, like The Hunger Games, like 1984 itself, that tackle difficult topics that are euphemisms for the real world, like police brutality, government oppressing its citizens, kids being forced to kill kids, what if all of those books all of a sudden get considered to be too offensive and get edited because people don't want kids to be faced with the message that those books are putting out? Because it starts with Roald Dahl, and then people think, well, if we're going to edit Roald Dahl, why don't we edit Dr. Seuss? And if we're going to edit Dr. Seuss, why don't we change Jacqueline Wilson's books to be a bit more easy to consume? And if we're going to change Jacqueline Wilson's books, isn't it a bit messed up that that character in The Hunger Games was forced to prostitute himself? So shouldn't we change that so that the kids are able to feel like it wasn't as bad as it actually was, because maybe they can't handle that? It goes on and it goes on. It's a slippery slope. If we keep deciding that we don't like this word and we don't like that word, then everyone's going to start doing it, and suddenly every book under the sun is going to be changed so that there's no original text. And that sounds like an extreme, that sounds like hyperbole, but that's the point of saying that something's a slippery slope. It starts with one thing, and then it slides on down and becomes something a lot worse than what it started off as. Yeah, it may take years and years, but it'll happen if no one speaks up anyway. That's why I made this video. I don't believe that it's right to edit Roald Dahl's words. I don't believe it's necessary to edit Roald Dahl's words. I've never seen a kid have a problem with anything in Roald Dahl's books in that way. And obviously I'm not going to say that I know every single kid in the universe. I don't personally believe that any kid had a problem with Augustus Gloop being called fat. I feel like certain adults have a problem with Augustus Gloop being called fat and want to change it because they think that they're helping, and it's not helping. Sure, if you want to, put a trigger warning at the start of the books. They've started doing that with movies and TV shows now, particularly Disney ones, because there's certain like racist depictions of characters in Fantasia and Pocahontas and that kind of thing. And if you have to do that, fine. At least you're not changing anything. Because pretending that this language didn't exist and pretending that this language wasn't used is changing history, is pretending that it didn't happen and it wasn't published that way, so that kids are always reading sunshine and happiness and they don't have to be confronted with the word fat. And like my fat camp tried to do that. They were like, we don't use the word fat, we use the word overweight for your age. And it was like, that is the same thing, but okay, whatever. Kids aren't stupid. Alright, like we knew that overweight for your age was the exact same thing as being called fat, and kids are gonna know that enormous is the exact same thing as being called fat. Kids aren't dumb, and we need to stop treating them like they're dumb. Basically, we need to let these books remain as they are. We can't change how they were written because it erases how language was used in that particular time. It erases viewpoints of that particular time. If there was something in Roald Dahl's books that was considered offensive by today's standards, it should remain as an example of the way that people thought back then. I just don't agree with it. And I definitely think that we're on a slippery slope here with this. Roald Dahl original texts, the original text of Roald Dahl, these new prints I don't think have even come out yet. And original copies of Roald Dahl's books unedited are already going for thousands of pounds. And that means people are already anticipating the original text becoming rare and going extinct. That is not good. It's that slippery slope I was talking about, that if we can do it with Roald Dahl, what's stopping us doing it with other things we don't like, or other things the government doesn't like, or other things that certain political parties don't like? It won't stop there. And I think it's a misguided attempt at trying to help the future of the youth or whatever. But coming from a kid who was fat as a preteen, I didn't give a shit about Augustus Gloop being called fat. I really didn't. And yeah, I'm not like the poster child for all fat kids, but yeah, I was self-conscious about my weight. I was very uncomfortable with my weight, but I didn't care about the word fat. And like I say, kids aren't dumb. We need to stop treating them like they're dumb. And we can't pretend that this language didn't exist, because it did. Thank you for watching this video. It's a bit kind of all over the place, but I've been wanting to talk about this since I first read about it. It's just mad to me that people think that this is okay, and that it makes total sense, because to me it doesn't, and it's total insanity. But hey, that's just me. Let me know what you think down below. One note before I sign off, Neve and I are going to try, and I'm going to use this word strongly, try and finish the Too Much Information podcast series. Yeah, you know that thing that we stopped doing in 2018 because Neve got jobs and I got busy? Yeah, we're going to try and finish it. So if you have any thoughts on the books, The Mortal Instruments, City of Lost Souls, and City of Fallen Angels, leave them down below, or leave them in the comments of one of my other videos, maybe one of the other Too Much Information videos, and I'll write it down and we'll address it in the podcast. I will be shocked if anyone actually does, because it was so long ago that we stopped making them. So if you do end up like leaving a comment below like, fuck, I'll give you a friggin' pat in the back, because like, thank you for still being here. But anyway, I just wanted to say that we're gonna try and finish it. I'm making no promises, but we're gonna try, okay? So Leave any comments down below about those books. Leave any comments down below about this video. What do you think about the Roald Dahl changes? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Let me know all that down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Buy my book if you want to. Don't do that if you don't want to, though. I don't want you there if you don't want to be there. And remember, language is ever evolving, and we can't keep changing it every time it does evolve in text, because then someone will have their work cut out for them, because they're going to be working constantly. And just don't change authors' words. I don't agree with that. And I'm not on frame, but just imagine that I'm clicking my fingers with a thumbs up, alright? Okay, bye-bye.